Hi, this is James Gorman of October Library here with a book review. Today I'm reviewing the second book in the Dune series, Dune Messiah. This is written by Frank Herbert. This is a follow-up to his hit debut science fiction epic, Dune. This was published by Berkeley Books, and this is from 1969. This is a follow-up to Dune, and this was a very disappointing sequel. I did not enjoy it that much as I did with the first novel. I will explain later on in my review why I did not like this book, and I'm hoping that the other books in the Dune series will be a lot better than this one. This one was just really disappointing and times boring and depressing. Alright, on to the review and spoiler alert, as I will be giving away crucial details within the story. Plot. Set 12 years after the events of Dune, Paul, or known by his freedom name, Medivh, the Mouse. Paul is the most powerful empire in the galaxy and ruler of Arrakis, but is unable to control the Freemen as they have conquered most of the galaxy. While his mother Jessica has reclaimed their homeworld, Laden, back from the Hardarkin, Paul is facing two problems. The Freemen want a child from Paul's wife, Chani, to take his place when his time comes. However, he refuses from the visions he had of his wife dying from childbirth. And Princess Irulan of the Paddish Empire Shaddam IV also wants a child, wants Paul to be its father, which he refuses. These problems are causing tension between the Freemen and the other emperors who wish to remove Paul. Princess Irulan, along with Bene Gesserit's the Spacing Guild, the Twi'lek, and Adaric, a guide navigator, beings that have consumed high amounts of spice as they live inside special-made tanks. They are all plotting against Paul as they want to make Irulan the new ruler of Arrakis. Irulan has also been giving Paul's wife, Chani, birth control to prevent her from having a child, as Paul knows about this. During a meeting where Paul is signing a treaty for the Twi'lek to ensure peace is continued between the two, however, Irulan brings up the child situation, which causes more tension between Chani and Paul. He refuses to let Irulan give birth to a child, outraging her. Chani goes on a Freeman diet in order to give birth to a child, which prevents Irulan from interfering with Paul's children, angering her more. After signing the treaty, the Twi'lek give Paul a Gula, a clone of Duncan, Ohio, but goes under the name Hate. Paul doesn't trust it as it reveals to be trained to both serve him and kill him. His right-hand man, Stilgar, advises Paul to get rid of it, but states he cannot. However, he will keep a close eye on Hate. Paul is beginning to suspect a plot against him as he and Stilgar begin investigating along, finding out who is working for the Twi'lek. He summons revered mother Bene Gesserit and has her in prison, stating she'll be executed if she attempts to escape Arrakis. Irulan visits Bene Gesserit, telling her the plot to overthrow Paul is still on. Meanwhile, Paul's younger sister, Aline Atreides, is checking on a dead body that was reported where a low-flying courier instruments have detected a faint trace of water out in the desert. With her is Hate, as she is skeptical of him and refuses to trust him, as Hate has stated what his purpose is for Paul. During an argument while riding inside Phenometer about power and the role Alia will have in the future, along with stating Hate isn't the real Duncan, Ohio, since machines don't have feelings, Hate replies by kissing her. This both shocks and upsets her. Chani finds out that Irulan has been tampering her food with birth control and wants to kill Irulan for interfering with her children. Paul confesses he knew what Irulan was doing, but orders her not to kill Irulan, causing distrust with her husband. A production death commando, Ultiman, reveals evidence of a Freeman conspiracy against Paul. He gives him a dwarf Vijaz who has a photographic memory to aid him. Paul has had enough of threats and plans to attack those who threaten his throne and planet. During the battle, Paul and other Freemen are blinded by an atomic weapon known as a stone burner. Most of the Freemen are blind, including Paul, but uses his powers to see with his mind. Paul refuses to lose any of his men, with Stilgar comes to the rescue as he wants his men to have new eye implants rather than have them exile themselves out in the desert. Paul continues the battle against the conspirators. This was a disappointing sequel for so many reasons. While the tone of Dune Messiah is a lot darker and fiends, along with hints of incest, greed, feuds within with a family, and birthrights, however, what Dune Messiah lacked was the engaging story like the first novel. There is hardly any action or interesting moments within this novel. Too much drama, scenes that drag on, not enough detail when it was needed the most, hardly any likable characters, as I hated Princess Irulan. She was very mean, cruel, and at times a selfish woman caring about herself and power. And Paul's younger sister, Arlene, was so whiny and could get annoying at times. I also dislike how Paul was in this novel, no longer being the young, charming, good character I remembered in Dune, as the older Paul feels boring, unlikable at times, and the romance between him and Chani, as it felt they didn't love each other anymore, and how he could allow Irulan to get away with some of the horrible things she did to his wife was beyond me. The villains were also disappointed as they The villains were also disappointed as they literally tell Paul their plans and hardly do anything to try and take Arrakis away from him, and their plan to kill him with a clone of Duggan Idaho, who also tells Paul their plans, fails miserably. Unlike the Baron, who secretly planned out his sneak attack in Dune, worked perfectly, and yet Bennett, Gerzet, Space and Gil, and the Trilexu don't even try doing much against Paul. Lastly, the battle felt rushed towards the end and didn't really feel like a lot was happening. And some characters disappeared and reappeared at odd and random times throughout the novel with no explanation of what happened to them or where they went afterwards. One part that's never explained or talked about again is when the rival side tries capturing sandworms to produce spice elsewhere. I wish the novel went further with this, as it would have been interesting to see how a rival side would try to capture a sandworm and harvest spice from it. And the ending was depressing, not leaving me excited like I was after reading Dune. I was hoping for a good, solid sequel to continue after the events in Dune. But Frank writes a short follow-up novel that doesn't offer you anything worth reading for, nor any improvements to make Messiah a good sequel. If Frank Herbert put more effort into Messiah, along with adding more action, better characters, a better, well-crafted plot with more twists and turns and sandworms, then Messiah could have been a lot better. Overall, I don't recommend Dune Messiah, as I think a lot of people may find it boring than Frank's first novel in the Dune series, which is a lot better than Messiah. And that's it for the review today. As I said, this was not a good sequel, and I was very disappointed with it. I was expecting a lot more from Messiah, and it's the shortest one out of the Dune series, as the first book was like in the 400-page range. This one was like 279 pages, so I was expecting, you know, a lot more in this book, and it doesn't offer anything good. And some comments I was reading when I posted my review of Messiah, some people told me that John Woo Campbell, editor for some magazine, he even disliked Messiah and refused to publish it because he didn't like it. And then Frank Herbert came out with Dune, which he accepted that to kind of like make up for it with the second book. As I've been told, the later books in the Dune series do get a lot better. So once I have some room on my shelves behind me on the science fiction section on the top shelf there, I will definitely be checking out the other Dune books, and I hope they will be a lot better than Messiah, because it was just not a good sequel at all. A really disappointing book. Alright. That is it for the review today. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will begin reading Belling's University tonight, and after that I will read the action thriller book Crackdown, and then Johnny Says Manhattan Transfer, and then I'll just be reading more action and science fiction and other horror novels. If you like this video, please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to October Library, the YouTube channel, and the Facebook group of the same name, a place you can post, share, and review fiction. Until then, I'll catch you later.